The sky above the jungle moon, Rava 9, was always a dull orange, like a sunset frozen in time. Torin walked through the dense forest, his boots crunching softly over dry moss and twisted roots. The air was thick and warm. Strange birds with silver. Feathers watched from above, but none dared to make a sound. This place had its own quiet rules. Torin was a human ranger, stationed alone at Outpost Echo 7. His job was simple: watch, report, survive. There were no other humans for over 100 kilometers, just him, the base AI, and the endless forest. Every day he checked sensors, recorded wildlife, and made sure the equipment hadn't been swallowed by vines. He didn't mind the silence. Earth had grown too noisy for him. Here, he found peace. But today, something felt different. The scanner on his wrist beeped. Movement ahead, small, warm, and walking on 2 feet. Torin narrowed his eyes. No human should be out here. He crept forward, pulling his rifle from his back. It wasn't for killing, just in case something dangerous came close. He pushed through the thick leaves and stepped into a wide clearing. And there she stood, a young, beautiful alien woman with soft, natural beauty and rich teal-colored skin. Her long hair moved with the soft breeze, and her eyes, bright and deep like oceans, stared directly at him. She looked neither afraid nor surprised. She spoke softly, in perfect standard. "Torin, you came." Torin froze. He had never seen her before, never heard of her species, and yet she said his name like she knew him well. "Who are you?" He asked, raising the rifle slightly. "My name is Saren," she replied. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "I had a dream. You were in it. You found me, just like this." Torin's fingers tightened around the grip. "A dream?" he said slowly. "Yes, I saw you walking through the jungle. You saved me." He lowered the rifle but didn't put it away. Saren didn't move. She stood barefoot on the soft ground, like she had been waiting for him all day. "You're not human," Torin said. She gave a small smile. "No, but I'm not here to hurt you." Torin looked around. The jungle was quiet, too quiet now. The birds had flown away. Even the insects had gone silent. "Where are you from?" he asked. "I don't remember," Saren answered. "Only the dream. Only you." He didn't like that answer, but something in her voice felt honest, and something in his chest, something small and strange, told him not to walk away. He tapped his wrist. "Echo 7. Do you detect any life forms besides me?" The AI's voice crackled through his earpiece. "Confirmed. One humanoid life form located in your vicinity. Unknown species. No threat detected." Torin hesitated for a moment, then nodded to Saren. "Follow me. I'm taking you to the outpost." Saren didn't argue. She stepped beside him, walking with ease, as if she had been on this path before. Maybe in her dreams she had. As they walked, Torin glanced at her. Her movements were graceful, quiet. Her eyes stayed forward, but she looked like she was listening to the forest around them. "You don't seem surprised to be here," he said. "I'm not," she replied. "I've seen this place many times. The trees, the sky, even the way you walk." "And you dreamed all of that?" "Yes, and more." Torin didn't know what to say. He had seen strange things in the galaxy. But this? A woman from another world who knew him through a dream? It felt impossible. Yet here she was, as real as the trees around them. They reached the outpost just before sunset. The sky turned darker, glowing with soft orange clouds. The base was a dome-shaped structure made of metal and glass. Solar panels lined the roof. Inside, it was simple. A main room with consoles, a bed, storage crates, and a chair he barely used. Torin led Saren inside. The AI scanned her again and confirmed she carried no weapons, no trackers, no signs of infection. Still, he gave her water and let her rest while he kept an eye on her from across the room. She looked around the place slowly, then sat near the wall, quiet and still. "This is where it begins," she said softly. "What does?" "The reason I'm here. The danger. It's coming. I felt it in the dream." Torin leaned forward. "What kind of danger?" She looked at him now. Her eyes held something deep, a sadness, a fear. "A creature," she said. "Not of flesh, not of thought. It hunts those who dream. It follows what's hidden. It found my people once. Now it follows me." Torin's heartbeat quickened. "And you think it's coming here?" "I know it is." Outside, the jungle rustled. A distant wind howled between the trees. For the first time in weeks, Torin felt truly uneasy. He stood up and locked the outer gate. He powered up the emergency barriers and turned the sensors to maximum range. Siren watched him. "You believe me," she said. "I don't know what I believe," Torin replied. "But if something's coming, I want to be ready." She nodded. "I dreamed of that too." Night settled on Rava 9. Inside the outpost, silence returned. But sleep did not come. Not for Torin, and not for Saren. Torin didn't sleep that night. He sat in the corner of the outpost, his rifle across his lap and his eyes fixed on the screens. Motion sensors showed nothing unusual. The jungle outside was still. No strange sounds, no signs of a creature. Yet something inside him stayed alert, like a whisper that wouldn't stop. Across the room, Saren rested against the wall. She hadn't moved much since they arrived. Her eyes were closed, but her breathing stayed light, not quite asleep, as if she too was waiting for something. At dawn, the sky over Rava 9 turned soft yellow. The jungle woke up slowly, birds calling. From treetops, vines swaying with morning wind, and the hum of insects returning to their daily rhythm. But the feeling inside the outpost didn't change. It remained quiet, watchful. Saren finally opened her eyes. "You didn't sleep," she said. Torin shook his head. "Didn't feel right." Saren nodded. "You listened to the dream?" Torin leaned forward. "Tell me more about it. This dream. What did you see?" Saren sat upright. Her hands rested on her knees, calm but focused. "In my dream, I was alone. Running. The jungle was darker, heavier. I heard a voice. Not words, just pressure in my mind. It followed me, but I couldn't see it." She paused. "Then I saw light, a figure walking through the trees. It was you. You held out your hand, and I took it. When I looked back, the darkness stopped. It didn't follow." Torin stayed silent. The dream made no sense, but it matched how she had looked when he found her. Lost, quiet, and needing help. And something in her story made his skin prickle. Not fear, exactly. A strange feeling he couldn't name. "Do you remember anything before the dream?" he asked. Saren shook her head slowly. "Only flashes. My people. There were many. We lived far from this world, but one by one, they vanished. Some spoke of the hunter. Some called it a shadow. It finds dreamers, ones who see too far. I was one of them." "You saw the future?" Torin asked. Saren looked down. "Not always, just small pieces, enough to be hunted." Torin walked over to the main console. He brought up satellite scans of the jungle. The night had passed without any major movement, but the energy readings were strange. A low, constant pulse had started in the early hours, like something deep. Underground had awakened. "Do you know what this is?" he asked, pointing at the screen. Saren stood beside him and studied the lines. Her eyes widened slightly. "I've seen this shape," she said. "Not in the dream, in memory." Memory? There was a place, an old place. My people called it the First Core. A temple buried beneath roots and stone. It held something dangerous. A machine that touched thoughts. Torin frowned. "You think it's here?" She nodded. "The jungle grew over it. But the machine still lives. I feel it now. It's pulling something in." Torin zoomed in on the signal source. It was miles south of the outpost, deep in uncharted territory. No patrols had ever gone that far. The land was rough, full of cliffs and mist-covered valleys. "Could that machine be calling the hunter?" he asked. Saren answered with one word. "Yes." Torin stared at the screen. He had never believed in fate or destiny. Dreams were just brain noise to him. But now, a woman from another world stood in his base, telling him something old and hidden. Was waking up, and he was part of it. "If I take you there," he said, "can you shut it down?" Saren looked at him with steady eyes. "If it's still the same, yes. But the hunter might already be close." Torin took a breath and nodded. "Then we go before it finds us." He gathered supplies, food packs, medical kit, spare power cells, and extra weapons. Saren took nothing but a small crystal from her belt. She said it was a memory stone used by her people to hold thoughts. She tied it to her wrist and followed him outside. The jungle greeted them with bright colors and strange sounds. Vines hung low. Insects buzzed between blue leaves. But Torin noticed something new. The ground felt warmer under his boots. The wind carried a faint hum like a song hidden beneath the trees. They walked for hours. Saren moved like she had walked this path before, even though no map showed a trail. She paused often, touching bark, listening to the wind, guiding Torin away from sinkholes and strange glowing plants. At midday, they stopped near a river. The water was clear, flowing fast between smooth stones. Torin drank and refilled his pack. Saren stood still, her eyes closed. "What is it?" he asked. "The machine," she said softly. "It's awake. I can feel its pulse in the air." Torin listened. The jungle was still. But now he felt it too. A slow rhythm, like a heartbeat far underground. Suddenly, the scanner on his wrist beeped just once. A signal flashed. Then it was gone. "What was that?" Saren asked quickly. "Don't know," Torin said. "Something fast. It moved right past us." Saren looked behind them. "It's here." Torin stood and raised his rifle, watching the trees. Nothing moved. But the silence returned again, just like last night. "We keep moving," he said. They followed the river south, deeper into the unknown part of the jungle. Every step brought them closer to the First Core, and whatever waited beneath it. Torin had come to Rava 9 expecting nothing but routine patrols and silence. Now, a stranger from another world walked beside him, and something older than memory had begun to stir. The deeper they went into the jungle, the older everything felt. The trees grew taller, their branches thick like towers. Green and purple vines wrapped around the trunks, stretching high into the air like arms reaching for the clouds. Strange. Glowing insects floated silently in the shadows. The sunlight barely touched the ground now. It was cooler here, but heavy, like the forest itself was watching. Torin held his rifle close and scanned the area. His eyes moved from tree to tree, but nothing moved except the leaves. Saren walked quietly beside him. She didn't speak much, but her calm presence gave him focus. Every time she paused, so did he. Around midday, they reached a high ridge overlooking a deep valley. Below, the jungle looked darker, thicker. No birds flew there. No animals made a sound. "That is where the First Core rests," Saren said, pointing. Torin stared at the valley. It looked peaceful from above, but something about it made his chest feel tight. "What is this core, really?" he asked. Saren was silent for a moment. "It's not just a machine," she said. "It was built long ago, before my people left. Our home. They believed it could help guide minds, shape choices, understand what lies beyond thought." Torin frowned. "That sounds dangerous," she nodded. "It was. That's why they hid it." He looked again at the dark valley. "And now it's waking up. Yes, and the hunter is coming for it." Torin sighed and adjusted his gear. "Then we better get moving." The path down the ridge was narrow and slippery. Moss covered the stones. The deeper they went, the less wind they felt. The forest closed around them like a blanket. Even the UB air changed. Cooler, but with a strange electric taste, like standing near a power cell. As they reached the bottom, Torin noticed something strange on the trees. Carvings, long curved marks, almost like writing. He touched one gently. "These symbols," he said. "Your people?" Saren stepped closer and studied the markings. "Yes. Warnings. They say, 'Mind must not lead without heart.' This was written after the machine was sealed." Torin felt the words sink in. He had seen many technologies used wrongly, machines that destroyed cities, drones that turned on their creators. This one felt older than all of them, and still alive. They walked through the quiet forest until they reached a clearing. At the center stood a wide stone platform, half buried under roots and moss. In its center was a round opening, covered by thick vines and stone plates. Saren stopped. "This is the entrance," she said. "The core is far below." Torin knelt and examined the surface. It looked ancient, untouched for years. He tapped. The plates, checking for weakness. Then he stood and nodded. "We'll set camp here. Go down after rest." Saren agreed. They set up a small shelter near the trees. Torin placed motion detectors in 4 directions and adjusted the scanners. Then he built a small heat lamp and handed Saren a warm meal pack. As they ate, Saren looked at him thoughtfully. "You are calm, even now," she said. Torin gave a small shrug. "Training, habit, doesn't mean I'm not worried." Most humans I've met spoke with noise. Laughter, questions, bold steps, but you walk with silence. Torin smiled faintly. "I've seen too many things go wrong. Quiet keeps me sharp." Saren nodded. "It may save us." The jungle remained still as night fell. The sky above turned a dark orange, fading into deep violet. Stars peeked through breaks in the canopy, but even then, the silence stayed. Torin didn't like it. He checked the sensors again. All clear. But his instincts told him something was near. Watching. Waiting. Saren sat with her legs crossed, the memory crystal in her hand. It glowed gently. "What is that stone really?" Torin asked. "It holds thoughts," she answered. "Not words, not pictures. Feelings, warnings, pieces of people left behind." "Can you use it?" She nodded. "If I listen, I can feel what they felt." She closed her eyes. The glow grew stronger for a moment. Then her face changed, tense, worried. "What?" "Do you see?" he asked. "Fear," she whispered. "From the last guardian. He stayed here when others left. He saw the hunter arrive. It came from the sky, but it wasn't born. It was built." Torin leaned closer. "Built?" She opened her eyes. "Something created it to feed on thought, on memory. It hunts those who carry dreams, and it remembers everyone it touches." A cold chill ran down Torin's spine. Suddenly, one of the motion detectors blinked. Torin jumped to his feet and raised his rifle. He scanned the jungle. Nothing there. Another detector flashed. Then a third. But the scanners showed no heat, no movement. Saren stood up quickly, her voice calm but sharp. "It's here." Torin turned in every direction. The jungle was completely still, yet every part of him screamed that something had entered the clearing. A low, distant hum began to rise. It came not from the trees, but from below. "The core is awake," Saren said. "It's calling," and the hunter heard it. Torin checked his scanner again. Still no signal. That made it worse. He looked at Saren. "We go down at first light," he said. "We end this before it reaches us." She nodded, gripping the crystal tight. As the night deepened, they sat back to back, watching both jungle and sky. And somewhere beyond the trees, something moved without sound, drawn to the same place they were heading. The sky above the jungle turned deep blue, and the first light of morning touched the tall trees. Mist floated low over the ground as Torin stood near the stone platform, rifle ready, gear packed, and heart steady. Saren stood beside him, holding the crystal. Her eyes were focused, calm but alert. "Are you sure this is the only way in?" Torin asked. "Yes," she replied. "There was once a second path, but it collapsed long ago. We go through the core gate." Torin nodded and used a small cutting tool to slice through the thick vines covering the stone plates. It took time. The vines were strong and old. With every layer removed, the stone beneath felt colder, more unnatural. Finally, the entrance was clear. A round metal hatch rested in the center of the stone, hidden under years of moss. Saren stepped forward and placed her hand over a small carved symbol beside the hatch. The crystal she carried began to glow. The hatch clicked. Then it opened. A long staircase led downward into darkness. Cold air rushed up, carrying the scent of old dust and metal. Torin activated his shoulder light. "Stay close." They descended step by step. The stairs were steep, worn by time. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. The only sound was their own breath and the echo of boots on stone. After several minutes, they reached a wide underground chamber. Torin raised his light and scanned the room. It was huge, circular, with walls made of black metal covered in symbols. At the center stood a tall pillar, glowing faintly. Strange wires ran from it into the walls, like veins. "This is the core," Saren whispered. "It holds the machine's heart." Torin walked slowly around the pillar. His scanner picked up energy levels, rising steadily. "You said it reads minds?" "Yes," Saren replied. "But it doesn't speak. It listens. And when it listens too long, it begins to change what it hears." "Change?" She looked at the pillar. That's how the hunter was born. Suddenly, the pillar glowed brighter. A low hum filled the room. Torin stepped back and raised his rifle. Then the chamber shook. It was light at first, like a small tremor. But then it grew. Dust. Falling from the ceiling, walls trembling, something had entered the upper levels. Torin tapped his scanner. "Something's above us, moving fast." Saren closed her eyes. Her hands clutched the crystal. "It's here." The tremble stopped. Silence fell. Torin motioned toward a side corridor. "Move! We find cover!" They ran through a hallway that led deeper underground. Old lights flickered above them, powered by the awakening core. The walls had more carvings, some broken, others glowing faintly. They reached a smaller room filled with control panels and screens, most of them dead. Torin placed motion sensors near the door. "We'll hold here. Try to shut it down." Saren nodded and stepped toward the controls. Her fingers moved across the ancient keys with care. The crystal in her hand sent soft pulses into the machine. Lights blinked in response. As she worked, Torin checked his weapon, eyes on the doorway. Then, he heard it, a soft click, like claws on stone. He turned his light toward the hallway. Nothing there. Another click. Then silence again. Torin's voice was low. It's in the tunnels. Saren didn't stop working. I need more time. Torin stayed ready, watching. The shadows. The pressure in the air grew heavier. The sensors blinked once, then stopped. Something passed by without being seen. Then a shape appeared in the hallway. Tall, thin, half in shadow. It moved like smoke, but its eyes glowed faint red. It had no face, just smooth black skin and sharp edges where a mouth should be. Its arms were long, ending in curved blades. It didn't walk. It glided. Torin aimed and fired. The bullets struck, but the creature vanished like mist. Then it appeared again, closer this time. Torin fired again. Sparks flew, but no damage. Saren shouted, "It's not fully here! It's using the machine!" Torin backed away slowly, keeping his aim steady. "How do I stop it?" "You must weaken the signal. On the wall. Panel 3. Torin turned and slammed his fist onto the third panel. The screen blinked. Sparks flew from the pillar in the other room. The hunter shrieked, a high, sharp sound that rattled the walls. It vanished. Saren fell to her knees. The crystal dimmed. "Did we kill it?" Torin asked. "No," she breathed. "We pushed it away, but not for long." Torin helped her stand. "Then let's shut the whole thing down." Saren walked to the center console. The crystal pulsed again. This time, the machine reacted more strongly. Symbols on the wall turned red. A voice, ancient and broken, spoke through the speakers. But the words were not in any known language. Saren's voice was calm but firm. "It's resisting. It wants to live." Torin placed his hand on her shoulder. "Then we make it stop." Saren poured all energy from the crystal into the core. The light from the pillar flickered, then began to fade. The machine groaned as systems shut down one by one. But above them, something screamed. The hunter was returning. Torin grabbed his rifle and stood in front of the door. Saren didn't stop. She closed her eyes and sent one final pulse through the crystal. A flash of light burst from the console. The ground shook. The walls cracked. Then silence. The pillar's light died. The hunter's scream was cut short. It was gone. Torin turned, heart pounding. Saren opened her eyes slowly. She was pale, but standing. "It's over," she said. Torin looked around the broken chamber. "Is it?" She nodded. "For now." The core was dead. The machine had stopped listening. And the thing that hunted minds had lost its voice. But in the silence that followed, Torin knew one thing for sure. Whatever had built this, whatever had dreamed of controlling thought, wasn't finished with them yet. The jungle moon was quiet again, but the silence felt different. It wasn't peace. It was the kind of quiet that came after something powerful had passed through. Torin and Saren stood at the edge of the core chamber. The ancient machine was now dark. The central pillar no longer glowed. The walls had cracks running across them, and smoke drifted from broken vents. The hunter had disappeared, and the room no longer pulsed with strange energy. But Saren looked troubled. "It's not over," she said. Torin wiped dust from his visor and looked at her. "The machine is dead. We shut it down." She nodded, but slowly. "The core listened for too long. It sent signals before we reached it. Someone, or something, may have heard it." Torin didn't like the sound of that. "Who could hear?" "This?" he asked. She walked to the wall and touched one of the ancient carvings. Before the hunter, before this jungle grew around it, there were others who tried to control thought. Machines like this one were part of a larger system, one that reached through space, a mind web. Torin stepped closer. "And now, this system is waking up?" "Maybe only part of it. But even a small part is dangerous." They packed their gear and left the ruined chamber. The path back to the surface was long and silent. Torin led the way, watching every corner with caution. He didn't trust that the creature was truly gone. Shadows felt heavier now. Light didn't seem to reach far. When they finally reached the surface, The sky above Rava 9 had changed again. The colors were darker, almost red in places. The jungle looked the same, but it no longer felt alive. The birds didn't sing, the trees didn't move. Torin tapped his wrist scanner. Still getting energy spikes, small ones scattered across the area. Saren closed her eyes. Fragments of memory. Echoes left behind by the core. They returned to the camp, but it didn't feel safe anymore. Torin powered on the outpost's long-range antenna. He needed answers. Maybe someone from the Central Command had seen these signals too. As he worked at the console, the AI blinked to life. Warning. Unauthorized files detected in command logs. Torin frowned. Show me. The screen changed. Lines of code scrolled. Fast. But in the middle of it, he saw something strange. His name. A log entry dated 2 weeks before he arrived. Subject Torin. Selected for exposure. Pattern linked to dream protocols. His heart skipped. He had never seen this file. It wasn't part of his mission data, and he hadn't agreed to any experiment. Saren looked over his shoulder. This isn't an accident. Torin opened more files. They spoke of a hidden program, one that tracked certain humans with high pattern sensitivity, people who were likely to connect with alien tech. People like him. They had sent him here on purpose. It was a test, he said quietly. I was the test. Saren pointed to another section of the file. And I was part of it too. There were reports, scans of Saren's species, maps of their old colonies, data on their psychic gifts. The experiment wasn't just about machines, it was about matching human minds with alien dreamers. Torin stepped back. They used us. Saren nodded. But they didn't expect the hunter to survive. Torin felt anger rise inside him. He had trusted command, believed in the mission, but now it was clear. They had lied. They knew about the core. They knew it might react to him. What do we do now? He asked. Saren held up her crystal. We still have this. It carries truth. Memory can fight machines, but we need to decide what kind of memory to leave behind. Torin stared at the screen again. The signal is still spreading. If someone else picks it up, they might activate another core. Then we stop it, Saren said. Torin sent a secure message through the outpost's relay. Rava 9 mission compromised. Forbidden tech present. Core shut down. Contamination likely. Do not respond. Do not approach. He locked the transmission under a false distress tag. Something that would make command stay away, at least for now. Then he turned to Saren. We can't stay here. But we can't go home either, she agreed. We follow the echoes. Find others like this. Stop them before they awaken. Torin packed the last of the supplies. Weapons. Data drives. Energy packs. You trust me? He asked. Saren gave a small smile. I dreamed of you. You saved me. Now we save others. As they left the outpost, the jungle slowly shifted behind them. The vines grew quietly, covering the old path again. The core was buried once more, silent and cold. But far above them in deep space, the signals moved through the stars, and somewhere, something else was listening. The jungle was thicker now, the trees taller and older than any Torin had seen before. As he and Saren moved deeper into the unknown lands of Rava 9, the forest began to change shape. The plants no longer looked natural. Some had metal-like veins. Others glowed faintly, not from sunlight, but from something deep inside the ground. It's spreading, Saren said softly, brushing her hand over a strange vine. The core's signal touched more than just machines. It changed the land. Torin looked around, scanning with his wrist tool. The readings were strange, half biological, half artificial. A weak pulse echoed every few seconds from under their feet. Not strong enough to be dangerous, but not natural either. They walked for hours through twisting paths, over fallen trees, and across glowing rivers. Saren said she could feel the direction they needed to go, It wasn't shown on any map. She followed the memories stored in the crystal tied to her wrist. Finally, they reached a wide cliff. Below it stretched a hidden valley, surrounded by mist. At the center of the valley stood a strange structure, part temple, part machine. It had no lights, no movement, but it stood tall like it had been waiting. "That's it," Saren said. "The first node. It connected to the core before you." "Shut it down." Torin studied the place. "Another part of the system." "Yes, but it hasn't fully awakened yet. We can stop it before it reaches others." They climbed down the rocky path, careful with each step. The deeper they went, the thicker the air became. A humming sound grew louder, not painful, but like a whisper behind the ears. When they reached the base of the valley, the ground felt softer, almost alive. Saren placed her palm on the earth and closed her eyes. "It hears us." Torin raised his rifle and turned in a slow circle. "Let's hope it doesn't speak back." They approached the structure slowly. It was built from smooth, dark stone and strange alloy panels. Symbols ran along its walls, similar to the core, but older, more worn. The front gate was already open. They stepped inside. The inside of the node was unlike the core. It was smaller, darker, and colder. The walls seemed to breathe. A long hall stretched ahead, lined with tall mirrors. But when Torin looked into one, he didn't see himself. He saw images of the past. In one mirror, he saw the core glowing. In another, he saw Saren's people, smiling, alive before the hunter came. In the last mirror, he saw himself, standing in the jungle, holding Saren's hand, but behind them something large and shadowed approached. Saren touched his arm. "It's showing us possibilities. Traces of memory left in the system." Torin stepped away from the mirror. "Can it hurt us?" "No, not yet. But if it becomes active, it can call the hunter again, or worse, create another." Torin walked to the center of the chamber. A circular platform rose slowly from the floor, revealing a control device, similar to the core's console, but simpler. "This is how we stop it?" he asked. Saren nodded. "We seal the connection, cut off its link to the others. After that, it will sleep forever." Torin placed his hand on the device. It was warm, as if it had a heart. Saren stood across from him and held the memory crystal over the control panel. It glowed bright teal, but then the light flickered. Something was wrong. Torin looked around. The walls shimmered. The mirrors started changing. The peaceful images disappeared. New ones replaced them. Images of war, of strange metal creatures. "Flying through space, of worlds collapsing. The node is resisting," Saren said. "It doesn't want to sleep." Suddenly, the floor shook. A loud sound echoed through the chamber. Torin aimed his rifle at the doorway, and then it came. The hunter. Not the same one they had faced before, but something new. Taller, more solid. Its body was covered in black armor, pulsing with faint red lights. Its arms were longer, shaped, like blades. Its head had no face, only a sharp, glowing symbol. It moved fast. Torin fired. The bullets hit, but the creature didn't stop. It crashed into a nearby wall, then disappeared and reappeared behind them. Saren shouted, "It's a projection, made from the node's defense system. Can we shut it down?" "Yes, but we must finish the seal." Torin turned back to the platform. "Do it! I'll hold it off." He moved to block the hunter's path. It came at him with speed, swiping its blade arm through the air. Torin ducked, rolled, and fired again. Sparks flew. The hunter screeched and disappeared again, reappearing. Behind Saren, Torin ran and tackled it, knocking it into a wall. The moment they touched, a sharp pain entered his head. Flashes of images, voices, broken thoughts. Then the hunter vanished again. Saren screamed. He turned and saw her glowing. The crystal in her hand burst into bright light. The control platform shook. Symbols on the wall turned blue. Then silence. The hunter froze mid-step. Its body cracked, piece by piece, until it shattered like glass. The node dimmed. Saren dropped to her knees, breathing hard. Torin rushed to her side. "You did it?" She nodded. "The seal is complete. It's over." Torin looked around. The mirrors returned to normal. The walls stopped breathing. The hum faded. And just like that, the node slept again. As they walked back into the sunlight, Torin felt the air clear. No more whispers, no more shadows, just peace. For now. The jungle of Rava 9 was quiet again, but it was not the same jungle Torin first walked into. The air was still, as if the world was taking its first breath after a long dream. Trees no longer pulsed with strange energy. The land felt free. The weight of ancient machines had lifted. Torin and Saren walked back along the same path they had taken days ago, though it felt like much longer. They were tired, but not broken. The danger was gone, at least for now. Saren held the cracked memory, crystal in her hand. It no longer glowed, but she still carried it like something precious. It had helped her remember her people, and it had helped them stop the node from waking completely. Torin looked at the sky. Clouds moved slowly above the canopy, and soft. Light filtered down through the leaves. For the first time since he landed on this moon, the sky looked peaceful. "Do you think it's over?" he asked. Saren didn't answer right away. She stared into the trees, then finally said, "The node is sealed, but signals were sent. We stopped one path, but others may still be active." Torin understood. The dream machine might be quiet, but its echoes could still travel, and others far across space might be listening. They reached the edge of the old outpost. The camp was still standing, though vines had started creeping over the edges of the solar panels. The comm tower blinked with a single green light, showing that the long-range beacon was still online. Torin activated the terminal. The message he had sent earlier, his false distress signal, was still there, still broadcasting. It would keep others away, at least for now, but he knew it was only a matter of time before someone came to investigate. He looked at Saren. "We can't stay here, but we can't let this place fall into the wrong hands either." Saren nodded. "There are other nodes, other cores. Some may be asleep, some may already be awake." Torin felt a strange calm settle over him. The mission had changed. He was no longer just a scout or a soldier. He had become something else, part witness, part protector. He backed up all the data onto a secure drive. Notes about the core, the node, the hunter, and the sealed systems were all saved. He added a warning, short and direct. "Do not connect. Do not explore. These machines carry memories older than time, and not all dreams are safe." Saren watched him quietly. "What will you do with the data?" "Hide it," Torin said. "For now. Until I know who to trust." She walked with him to the edge of the landing zone. The ship he arrived in was still parked there, covered in jungle dust. It would still fly. Before boarding, Torin turned to her. "What about you?" Saren looked up at the sky. "I will go where the dreams take me. My people spoke through memory. If other echoes remain, I will find them." Torin hesitated, then said, "We can travel together." Saren smiled. "We already have, and we will again." They entered the ship. The engines hummed to life. Dust lifted from the ground as the thrusters warmed. The ship rose slowly, moving above the trees, above the outpost, above the place where ancient systems once whispered in silence. From the sky, the jungle looked peaceful again. Torin set the course, not for home, but for a nearby moon marked long ago in Saren's memory. She believed another node might exist there. If it was silent, they would let it rest. If it was awake, they would stop it. He looked at the stars ahead. Space felt bigger now, full of secrets. "Do you still dream of me?" he asked her quietly. Saren looked out the window. "I dreamed of your voice before I knew your name. I dreamed of your hands pulling me from darkness. But now I dream of something else." Torin raised a brow. "What?" She smiled gently. "I dream of hope." The ship slipped into the black sky. Below them, Rava 9 faded into the background. A green dot surrounded by a vast sea of stars. But Torin knew it was never just a moon. It was a place of memory, of danger, of silent machines and broken promises. A place where a soldier met a dreamer. A place where something old had tried to wake and had been stopped. For now. As the stars stretched ahead, Torin tightened his grip on the controls. His mission was no longer about orders or reports. It was about making sure others never walked blind into the same trap. It was about protecting life from ancient echoes. Beside him, Saren closed her eyes and leaned back. Still carried her past. But now she also carried peace. Torin looked ahead and whispered to himself, "No more silent calls, no more dream machines. We end it all." And with that, the ship moved into the deep dark, chasing the last signal, following the last dream, ready for whatever came next.